We're working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila in Vietnam. Hello, Charlene.
Hello, I'm Charlene Navaja from your ABC Vietnam Bureau, bringing you the latest news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines. President Duterte is now eyeing the re-imposition of stricter quarantine protocols amid the increasing local cases of the Delta variant of the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2.
Singapore's government on Tuesday said it will again tighten COVID-19 measures as new cases continue to rise, complicating the country's reopening plans.
ASEAN and Canada reaffirmed commitment to further advance their enhanced partnership for mutual benefit at the 18th ASEAN-Canada Dialogue held today via video conference.
And the Business Mirror reports that sluggish private investment amid continued vaccinations has prompted the Asian Development Bank, or ADB, to maintain its growth expectations for the Philippine economy this year and next year.
President Duterte is now eyeing the re-imposition of stricter quarantine protocols amid the increasing local cases of the Delta variant of the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, or SARS-CoV-2. In his public address late Monday night, President Duterte expressed concern over how the variant caused a surge in COVID-19 cases in several countries, including India and Indonesia. The Delta variant is said to be 60% more transmissible than the Alpha variant of SARS-CoV-2. Health officials said there are currently 36 cases of Delta variants detected in the country, although they admitted this could be higher since the government's surveillance capacity for new variants remain limited. The National Genome Center only tests randomly for variants. Prompted by the instruction from President Duterte, the Department of Interior and Local Government announced it will be coming up with guidelines for local government units to prepare for the possible spread of the Delta variant. LGUs, particularly in the National Capital Region, also expressed alarm over the Delta variant after the Department of Health confirmed that a person in Manila was infected with it. Metro Manila Development Authority Chairman Benjamin Abalos said the incident prompted NCR mayors to ask the IATF to suspend the policy allowing those in the 5 to 17 age group to go outside of their homes. Vaccine expert panel member Dr. Ron Jean Solante backed the mayor's appeal. He noted while children have a lower risk of getting COVID-19, they could still serve as carriers of the virus when they go home.
Interior Undersecretary Epimaco Densing said the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases will meet on Thursday to further discuss the stricter quarantine protocols, particularly for interzonal travel and localized lockdowns. He also said that the enforcement of granular lockdown is the most preferred restrictive measure. Let's take a look.
Ating minimum public health. Ang ating panuntunan po as much as possible ay hindi po tayo magla-lockdown ng isang probinsya o isang syudad, no? Ang pag-iigtingin po natin ay pagla-lockdown ng mga maliliit na kalye, mga barangay, or yung tinatawag nating granular lockdowns. Ito pa rin ang ating ipatutupad ng pulisiya. At kasama na rin po rito ang pagbabalanse ng ating ekonomiya. Kaya nga, as much as possible, ayaw na ho natin mag-lockdown ng isang malaking lokal na gobyerno kasi nga makaka-apekto to sa ekonomiya. Hopefully, hindi nga kumalat itong Delta variant. Medyo nakakatakot po ng konti dahil kung matatandaan po niyo sa mga balita, ang Indonesia dahil sa Delta variant ay nagkakaroon ng at least 50,000 infections a day. At 90% ng bagong COVID-19 infections sa United Kingdom, halimbawa, ay dala po ng Delta variant. So ganun po kabigat itong variant ito ng COVID-19. So importante yung ating mga kababayan, alam po ito para po mapaghandaan natin at maiwasan din natin itong mga infeksyon na ito.
Earlier, Interior Secretary Eduardo Año assured that the local government units and the Philippine National Police will enforce all laws, ordinances, omnibus guidelines, and community quarantine protocols to keep the people safe from possible local transmission of more contagious Delta variant of COVID-19. Año said the department will soon issue a memorandum reminding LGUs to immediately prepare strategic plans against the possible local transmission of Delta variant. He said border control, especially in the international airports and seaports, will be intensified while the local chief executives will lead the aggressive mass vaccinations and faster testing, tracing, contact tracing, and isolation of patients infected with the virus. Through Operation Listo Operation Awareness, the protocol for the management of emerging infectious diseases, Año said there will be an increased number of quarantine and isolation and healthcare facilities. Año said the country has so far recorded 36 variant cases with 2 deaths.
Meanwhile, China has approved for emergency use the Sinovac manufactured coronavac for children from 3 to 17 years old, according to the Chinese embassy in Manila. In a statement, the embassy said the approval is based on phase 3 clinical trial data that suggests coronavac is at least 98.9% effective in producing antibodies, a higher efficacy than in population over 18 years old. The embassy said the study involved 180 volunteers within the age group. The results showed the development of antibodies was 98.9% to 100%, depending on the dosage after the administration of the second shot. On its website, Sinovac said the amount of the neutralizing antibody was close to the level recorded 28 days after vaccination and remained significantly higher than the level recorded in adults and the elderly in the same period. The Philippines granted an emergency use authorization to Sinovac's jab in February 2021 for healthy individuals aged 18 to 59. On July 7, the Chinese firm applied for an amendment of their EUA to include children from 3 to 17 years old. But as of this report, no decision has been announced yet by the country's Food and Drug Administration.
In Myanmar, a confidant of deposed Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi and stalwart democracy campaigner died Tuesday after becoming infected with COVID-19 in prison, authorities said. Nhan Win, a veteran senior member and former spokesperson of the National League for Democracy Party led by Suu Kyi, was 78. He had been arrested after the February 1st coup removed the NLD from power and was held in Yangon's notorious insane prison on charges of sedition. Zhao Min-hyun, spokesman of the State Administration Council, said that Nhan Win had underlying conditions of hypertension and diabetes. A veteran politician who worked on human rights issues, Nhan Win was the sole person allowed to meet with Suu Kyi during the previous junta regime when she was held under intermittent house arrest for 15 years.
And with hospitals in junta-run Myanmar empty of pro-democracy medical staff and coronavirus cases surging nationwide, volunteers are now going house to house to collect the fast-rising number of victims dying in their homes. Take a look.
အတက်နိုင်တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကလူတွေကိုကဲကျင်တာလူတွေဒီလိုဖြစ်တာကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ကမလိုလားကျင်ဘူးဗျအတက်နိုင်တော့ကဲကျင်တယ်လူနာတွေကိုကျွန်တော်တို့ကအမှန်ဆိုရင်ရဆိုကျွန်တော်တို့လူနာတွေပို့တယ်လူနာကိုဆေးရုံဆေးကန်းတွေဘယ်လူနာဖုံးဆက်လာရင်ဘယ်ဆေးရုံဖေးရုံအခုကအဲ့လိုမဟုတ်တော့ကျွန်တော်တို့ကဖုံးဆက်လာရင်ဘယ်ရေဝေးသွားမလဲဆိုတာပဲကျွန်တော်တို့ကမင်းနေရတဲ့ပုံစံပေါက်တယ်
At
ကျွန်တော်တို့ကတော့အတက်နိုင်ဆုံးကဲတယ်ကျွန်တော်မနေ့မိုးလင်းလာတယ်ကျွန်တော်စပြီးတည်ရတယ်တနေ့ကိုကျွန်တော်တို့အနည်းဆုံး40ကျော်လောက်တည်ပေးရတယ်
အဲ့လိုပြောလိုက်နော်စီးပွားရေးကမှလာလို့46ရက်ကွယ်ရောက်တကုံခဏလေးကင်ထားအေးဟုတ်ပြီဟိုဟာဖြစ်တာအားရနဲ့လာပေးမယ်နော်ခဏတော့စောင့်မေးနော်ဒါပဲဒီဟောလူချားတော့ဒုံတဲ့ဟုတ်အေးဆိုရောက်သိအောင်ပါလေကျွန်မဖုန်းကန်ရမှာတော့တော်တော်ကြောက်ပါတယ်ကြားလိုက်တဲ့သတင်းနဲ့အားလုံးကသတင်းကောင်းတစ်ခုမှမရှိသလိုသတင်းဆိုးကြီးပဲဆိုတဲ့အတွက်ကိုခိုင်ကြရင်လို့ခေါ်မလဲပြန်ဖြေခြင်းလောက်အောင်ပေါ့နော်ရှင်ထဲမှာခန်းစားရလွန်အားကြီးလို့ဟိုဂျင်နာလွန်အားကြီးလို့မဖြေခြင်းတာမလုပ်ချင်လို့မဟုတ်ပါဘူး
The Department of Foreign Affairs raised alert level 4 in Myanmar in view of the worsening COVID-19 situation in the country and to ensure the safety and welfare of the remaining Filipinos there. Under alert level 4, the Department of Foreign Affairs strongly recommends that Filipinos leave Myanmar as soon as possible, as the healthcare system in the country is close to reaching its maximum capacity and may not be able to provide adequate medical attention to Filipinos who become ill in the coming weeks. Filipinos may contact the Philippine Embassy in Myanmar for evacuation flight options. The advisory further states that for their own safety, Filipinos will not be allowed to return to Myanmar while alert level 4 remains. While waiting to be evacuated, the department advises Filipinos to exercise extreme caution and to only leave their residences when absolutely necessary, such as for buying food and other supplies. Filipinos are advised to regularly check with the Philippine Embassy in Yangon for further advisories.
Back here in the country, after a very short freedom for children 5 years and above, the Manila City government is encouraging parents to once again keep their children at home due to the threat caused by the Delta variant of the coronavirus disease. The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases earlier eased the COVID-19 community restrictions and decided to allow children aged 5 years and above to spend time outdoors. Local government units were even encouraged to designate child-friendly COVID-19 safe zones for minors. However, this was before the confirmation of the presence of COVID-19 Delta variant in the country. Now, Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Domagoso said the vote of the Metro Manila mayors would be submitted to the IATF-EID. He also said they have not yet received any formal communication from the Department of Health informing them of a new active Delta variant positive patient in the city. Among the 36 traced as close contacts of the 2 earlier Delta variant positive patients in the city, he said only one turned out positive for COVID-19. With the threat of the Delta variant, Manila residents are encouraged to strictly follow the minimum public health and safety protocols, such as the wearing of face masks and face shields, frequent washing or disinfection of the hands, and the observance of safe physical distancing, even for those who have been vaccinated against the coronavirus. Domagoso said it is better to be safe than be caught by surprise by the new variant.
And here in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh is seeking opinions from experts to prepare for possibly making its social distancing requirements stricter. Here's Micah Gwyneth Apostol. Micah?
Hello, Charlene. Here's the latest news from VN Express. Ho Chi Minh City is searching opinions from professionals and ministries to be ready for possibly making its social distancing requirements even more strict. On Tuesday, the secretary of the city party committee, Nguyen Van Nen, stated that this would stop the spread of the coronavirus, which continuously infected thousands of people in spite of almost 2 weeks of social distancing. Agreeing to this statement, Deputy Prime Minister Vu Duc Dam said that the city needs to contemplate adding restrictions in specific areas. The National Steering Committee for COVID-19 Prevention and Control encouraged Ho Chi Minh City to elevate testing in high-risk areas. Prime Minister Dam added that the Ministry of Health had medical equipment for Ho Chi Minh City, particularly for its intensive care units. He said that Vietnam can possibly have enough vaccine to cover 70% of the population by the end of 2021 if the vaccines would be delivered in time. But it is not expected to get many doses until August, prioritizing Ho Chi Minh City and any vaccines that will arrive. Stated by the Deputy Health Minister Nguyen Trong Son, the disease continues to behave unpredictably. The number of infections reached 5,000 a day for 3 days, but in the past 3 days have reduced to around 3,000. There has been no sign of improvement. The city needs to apply necessary coronavirus control measures for the next 10 days. An additional update, 27,000 informal laborers who had lost their jobs in Ho Chi Minh City will receive COVID-19 relief funds. Each one of them would be given 1.5 million Vietnam dong or 65.26 USD from a 886 billion Vietnam dong financial package for citizens affected by the pandemic. The city approved that last month. Included on the list are people working as domestic helpers, shoe shines, masons, hired workers, driver's assistants, drivers, including those working for ride-hailing firms and mechanics. The worst-hit locality in the fourth wave of Ho Chi Minh City has accounted for 39,526 of the country's 61,889 cases. It's already been almost 2 weeks of severe social distancing since July 9, demanding people to stay at home and only be allowed to go out if necessary, like buying food or medicines or go to work at factories or businesses which are allowed to open. Back to you, Charlene.
Thank you so much for your updates, Micah. Please stay safe out there.
Thank you, Charlene. You too. Reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam. This is Micah Gwyneth Apostol. We live in interesting times.
And Singapore's government said it will again tighten COVID-19 measures as new cases continue to rise, complicating the country's reopening plans. Take a look. According to CNBC News, the measures include reintroducing a ban on dining in and limiting the maximum number of people allowed to gather from 5 to 2. COVID-19 cases in Singapore have been on the rise in recent weeks. Multiple clusters have emerged around karaoke lounges, as well as wet markets and hawker food centers, raising authorities' concerns. Health Ministry data showed last week there were 480 community cases, a significant jump from the 19 reported in the previous 7 days. The number of people allowed to gather would be reduced from 5 to a maximum of 2. Households will be allowed to receive only 2 distinct visitors each day, not counting grandparents caring for their grandchildren. Dining out will be banned, but restaurants, food courts, and hawker centers will be allowed to offer takeaways. Strenuous indoor sports and exercise activities, which typically require masks to be removed, will cease. Large-scale events, including live performances and wedding receptions, will be scaled down, and pre-event testing will remain an essential measure. Work from home remains the default option for most companies.
And And in Thailand, more than 10 million people were placed under fresh COVID-19 restrictions and a curfew in the Thai capital Monday, as the kingdom battled a surge of cases worsened by the highly infectious Alpha and Delta variants. First detected in clubs frequented by the Thai elite and politicians at an upscale Bangkok nightlife district, the surge has been exacerbated by a slow vaccine rollout and limited testing capacity. In addition to the capital, 9 other provinces that have seen steady upticks in infections saw more restrictions by. Checkpoints sprung up across Bangkok in the early hours of Monday as a 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew came into force, with police wearing masks and facial shields, stopping cars in the center of the capital. Residents are barred from gathering in groups of more than 5 people, while public transport's network will shut from 9 p.m. Supermarkets, restaurants, banks, pharmacies, and electronic stores within malls will be able to stay open, but other shops have shuttered. Authorities on Monday also approved the use of administering the Chinese-made Sinovac jab as the first dose and AstraZeneca as the second. Health authorities added that medical staff who had already received 2 Sinovac doses will get a booster AstraZeneca or Pfizer-BioNTech shot.
Staying in Thailand, the Public Health Ministry there announced that there were a record 13,002 new COVID cases and 108 more fatalities. This is just over the previous 24 hours. Now, there were 11,953 cases in the general population and 1,049 among prison inmates. Over the past 24 hours, 8,248 COVID patients were diagnosed, recovered, and they were discharged from hospitals. The previous daily high of COVID-19 cases was 11,784 on Monday, when the country also logged 81 new fatalities. Thailand has expanded COVID-19 restrictions that include stay-at-home orders and a nighttime curfew to 3 more provinces. An announcement in the Royal Gazette on Sunday said people living in Chonburi, Ayutthaya, and Chachoengsao provinces will not be allowed to go outside unless necessary from Tuesday onwards. It added that a curfew will be imposed from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., while checkpoints will be set up to prevent people from traveling outside their provinces. Bangkok and 9 other provinces have already been under these restrictions. And the news continues here on Eagle News. We'll be right back.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced, not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas. A 1-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Probinsya. Tune into Mata ng Agila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Agila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to thank our help out, Laura.
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Welcome back. Back here in the country, President Duterte said the mended relationship between the Philippines and China has made it very easy to ask Chinese ships to leave Philippine waters. The president's statement came after presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, in a meeting held in Davao City on Monday night, reported that the Philippine Coast Guard recently drove away a Chinese naval warship spotted sailing within the country's exclusive economic zone. Take a look.
I'd like to ask Secretary Lorenzana, bakit madali silang mapaalis? Are they avoiding any confrontation? Or, yeah, parang goodwill?
Suspect ako po ay kaya sila umalis dahil napakalapit na nila sa Palawan eh. And that is already not contested sa atin yun eh. So, isa yun. Pangalawa, parang ayaw nila magkaroon ng insidente dyan involving their naval ship.
And Mayor, if I may add, siguro kasama na rin po dyan yung mabuting relasyon natin ngayon sa China na ayaw rin nilang madistorbo. No?
The Philippine Coast Guard earlier reported that BRP Cabra on July 13 spotted a naval warship carrying a Chinese flag at Marie-Louis Bank, which is 147 nautical miles from El Nido, Palawan. The vessel monitored in Marie-Louis Bank was a Chinese Navy warship 189, according to the Philippine Coast Guard. The Chinese warship left the Philippines EEZ after the PCG, or the Philippine Coast Guard vessel, sent a radio challenge.
And also in the Philippines, FIVOX reported that a magnitude 5.3 earthquake hit Davao Occidental early Wednesday. The tectonic quake struck 175 kilometers southeast of the municipality of Jose Abad Santos at 4:26 a.m. with a depth of 94 kilometers. Instrumental intensity 2 was recorded in General Santos City and Kiamba, Sarangani. Instrumental intensity is gauged using an intensity meter that measures ground acceleration compared to the reported intensity, which is the traditional way of knowing the intensity based on reports by people who felt the earthquake. Meanwhile, FIVOX said aftershocks are possible, but the damage is not expected from the magnitude 5.3 tremor. Damage starts at intensity 6 based on FIVOX scale.
And staying in the country, the southwest monsoon, or habagat, will continue to drench many areas in Luzon, according to Pag-asa today. The habagat is still being enhanced by Typhoon Fabian and the weather disturbance outside the Philippine area of responsibility with the international name Sempaka, according to Pag-asa, or the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, in its 5 a.m. weather bulletin. Metro Manila, the Ilocos and Cordillera regions, Batanes, Babuyan Islands, Zambales, Bataan, Pampanga, Bulacan, Cavite, Batangas, Occidental Mindoro, and Northern Palawan, including the Calamian Islands, will continue to experience monsoon rains. Fabian, which was last tracked 740 kilometers east-northeast of Itbayat, at Batanes is not expected to bring heavy rains across the country. The typhoon packs maximum sustained winds of 130 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 160 kilometers per hour.
And in Singapore, police said a 13-year-old boy was found dead Monday at a Singaporean high school while a fellow student was arrested and act seized. It was a rare incident in the city-state, which is known for its zero-tolerance approach to wrongdoing and has one of the world's lowest crime rates. Police were called to the prestigious state high school in the west of Singapore, where they found the 13-year-old with many wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. A 16-year-old was arrested for suspected involvement. The teenagers did not know one another, according to preliminary investigation. The suspect will be charged in court with murder on Tuesday. Police said they would ask him to undergo a psychiatric assessment education. Minister Chan Chun Sing said he was shocked to receive news of the tragic incident. Singapore has tough laws for even minor offenses such as vandalism, which can be punished by hanging. It has a homicide rate of just 0.2 per 100,000 inhabitants, according to UN data, among the world's lowest.
Now, all business establishments in Quezon City are now required to use the QC Pass contact tracing application to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 and its new variants. Take a look. City Ordinance number PO21CC-456 mandates establishments to prepare their QR or quick response codes for the full implementation of QC Pass. We need to immediately implement our digital contact tracing app to beef up our contact tracing, according to Mayor Joy Belmonte in a statement. She said the key to prevent the spread of the Delta variant is through a stricter contact tracing that we can achieve through QC Pass. She lamented that there are establishments that do not properly use the app, like the bars that were recently closed for various violations. Under the ordinance, business owners must secure a dedicated QR code from the Business Permits and Licensing Department. Establishments that fail to comply with the ordinance will be penalized 3,000 pesos and the franchise or business permit suspended until the violation is rectified for the first offense. For the second offense, 5,000 peso fine, suspension of franchise or business permit, and temporary closure order will be issued. Finally, the business permit or franchise will be revoked and a closure order will be issued on top of the 5,000 peso fine for the third offense.
The Business Mirror reports that sluggish private investment amid continued vaccinations has prompted the Asian Development Bank to maintain its growth expectations for the Philippine economy this year and next year. In its Asian Development Outlook supplement release on Tuesday, ADB said growth is expected to average 4.5% in 2021 and 5.5% in 2022, the same estimates made in April 2021. The bank also said the inflation is expected to average 4.1% this year and 3.5% next year. This is the same projection it made last April. The bank said sustained government spending on infrastructure and social assistance programs is supporting recovery, as did a gradual pickup in household spending aided by strong remittances. Private investment remains sluggish, but indicators such as PMI, industrial production, and imports improve gradually. The ADB also said the government's vaccination effort has accelerated to over 250,000 jabs daily, improvising the prospect that community protection in metropolitan Manila could be achieved by year-end. Inflation and expectations were maintained for the Philippines, given the government's recent move to reduce tariffs on rice and meat imports. ADB said the government's measures, which are seen to allow more pork imports under low tariff minimum access volume terms, will stem price increases of these commodities in the coming months.
In other news, Thai police deployed rubber bullets, tear gas, and water cannon in Bangkok as protesters defied COVID-19 restrictions to call for Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha's resignation and mark the one-year anniversary of a pro-democracy movement. Take a look.
And ASEAN in Focus will be right back.
Now in its second season, EBC Digital Nest is exactly what it's named. A televised and online nest for its hosts and all viewers alike to connect with each other, no matter their location, interests, or aspirations, through experiences that bring them the world over. The content one might find on EBC Digital Nest has potential to be as broad as its viewership. Whether it's related to current events, product features, traveling adventures, foodie trips, cultures or lifestyles, life hacks, or so much more. EBC Digital Nest is for the explorers, the curious, the go-getters, the avid learners, and most of all, the dreamers. We aim to captivate with content that will move viewers to act on their goals or dreams by showing them that if they can think it, they can do it. Hosted by Nicole Tongol in the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, along with correspondents reporting from all over the world, EBC Digital Nest will always provide a place where anyone can meet someone new, learn useful lessons, or even share their interest with support from the EBC Digital Nest family spread across many nations. Learn and share on EBC Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m. and online at EBC Digital Nest on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Welcome back to the program. The United States and Vietnam on Monday said they had reached an agreement to resolve a dispute over the value of Hanoi's dong currency, which Washington had briefly accused it of manipulating. Washington in April withdrew its accusation, but Vietnam remains on the U.S. Treasury's monitoring list for scrutiny of its currency policies. The new agreement will resolve the dispute between the two countries, according to the joint statement. The statement said Treasury and the State Bank of Vietnam have had constructive discussions in recent months through the enhanced engagement process and reached agreement to address Treasury's concerns about Vietnam's currency practices. Vietnam's currency practices are singled out in a twice-yearly analysis in the U.S. Congress requires detailing countries which might be actively trying to keep their currencies weaker against the U.S. dollars. This is to make their exports cheaper while making American goods more expensive. The findings in the reports are largely symbolic and do not entail sanctions. Under former President Donald Trump, Vietnam, along with China and Switzerland, were given the more serious designation of currency manipulators. Trump later withdrew the accusation against Beijing, while President Joe Biden removed the label from Vietnam and Switzerland. All three countries remained on the monitoring list.
Vast tea plantations spread out over Malaysia's rugged highlands, where a network of greenhouses harvest fruit, vegetables, and flowers and crops nestle in the hills. Take a look.
It has adversely affected our tourists up in Cameron Highlands due to the strict lockdown and flight restraint that has taken place. So it has adversely affected our sales as well as the tourists that comes up to Cameron Highlands.
ASEAN and Canada reaffirmed commitment to further advance their enhanced partnership for mutual benefit at the 18th ASEAN-Canada Dialogue, held today via video conference. Senior officials from ASEAN and Canada noted the growing cooperation between the two sides across the three pillars of the ASEAN community, as well as the significant progress in the implementation of the Plan of Action from 2021 to 2025 following its adoption last year. Both sides underscored the importance of collaborative efforts undertaken in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic and therefore welcomed the announcement of Canada's contribution of 3.5 million Canadian dollars over 5 years to the COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund in May 2021 to strengthen these efforts among other initiatives. The meeting also agreed to deepen collaboration in areas of micro, small and medium enterprises development, women, peace and security agenda, and women's economic empowerment, transnational crimes and cybersecurity, public health, digital economy, environment, connectivity, and innovation, including infrastructure and small cities, as well as human capital development through education and people-to-people exchanges. Permanent representative of Myanmar to ASEAN, Ong Mu Min, and Assistant Deputy Minister for Asia Pacific of Canadian Global Affairs, Paul Popel, co-chaired the dialogue. It was participated by senior officials of ASEAN or their representatives, as well as the Deputy Secretary General for ASEAN Political Security Community.
And President Duterte called on his fellow Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation or APEC leaders to pursue bold and collaborative responses to beat the COVID-19 pandemic and speed up global economic recovery. The president made the call as he acknowledged that coronavirus-hit countries have yet to fully contain COVID-19. Take a look.
More than a year ago, into the pandemic, we have yet to fully contain COVID-19. Therapeutics and medical supplies, this is the most urgent given the emergencies of new variants. APEC economies must resist imposing barriers to the free flow of vaccines and related essential products. We must stabilize vaccine prices to the level that make them more affordable to developing countries. On a more strategic level, we need to democratize vaccine development and manufacturing. Let us explore the possibility of technology transfer and time-bound compulsory licensing to allow production in developing countries. We must act with resolve and urgency and hold ourselves accountable to our own public pronouncement and policies. I say this in earnest. We must get our priorities straight. How can nations have stockpiles of weapons that can destroy us all, but not have ready reserves of life-saving vaccines and medical supplies for sharing that can save us all?
The retreat, chaired by New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, gathered leaders of APEC member economies to exchange views on opportunities for COVID-19 cooperation. The 21 member economies of APEC are Australia, Brunei Darussalam, Canada, Chile, People's Republic of China, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, Korea, Republic of Korea, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Peru, the Philippines, the Russian Federation, Singapore, Chinese, Taipei, Thailand, the United States, and Vietnam. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr., Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez, and Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Carl Kendrick Chua, plus Senator Christopher Lawrence Go, joined the President at this virtual event.
For Philippine Sports Commission or PSC Chairman William Ramirez, 3 times could be a charm. Ramirez owns the distinction as the only chairperson since the PSC's establishment in 1990 to be at the helm of the sports agency in 3 Olympics. His first in Beijing 2008, followed by Rio de Janeiro in 2016, and now Tokyo 2020 +1. I always say Olympic success is more than just a year of preparation, said Ramirez 2 days before he and Chief of Staff Mark Velasco will fly to Tokyo aboard Philippine Airlines on Thursday. Ramirez's Olympic journey matches weightlifter Hidilyn Diaz Gaines' sortie. Then, 18-year-old Diaz made her Olympic debut in Beijing as a wild card in the women's 58-kilogram class. So young and so innocent on the Olympic stage then. She didn't make the podium nor get close to it, but the prize but the prize by Zamboanga City reaped the experience she needed. London 2012 wasn't Diaz's time then, but came 2016 in Rio, and she brought home a silver medal. Diaz and 18 other Filipinos are competing in 11 sports in Tokyo, and Ramirez believes all of them have the potential to win the country's first Olympic gold medal, or perhaps even more. And that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. Thank you for joining us today here in ASEAN in Focus. This is Charlene Navaja, Premier EBC Vietnam Bureau. We live in interesting times.
Thank you, Charlene, and we'll see you back tomorrow. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.
Mapupuno ng saya, impormasyon